Hey, and welcome back to Team Awesomism's podcast. I am Lynn, aka Awesomism Mom, and I am super excited to have an amazing guest today. Oh, before I tell who my guest is, thank you, Brandon Hodde, for letting us use your music. You are awesome. If you like country music, even if you don't, please go find Brandon Hodde, Hodde, push like on his music. Follow him on Instagram and thank him for being such a big supporter of Team Awesomism, because the more people within the music industry that support our work, the better, because we are getting ready to have our own radio station. And I use that in air quotes because that's not really, I'm old, so that's what we used to call them. Radio stations on our new up and coming app, and Brandon Hodde will obviously be featured. So here is my awesome guest today, Mike Hruby. He is New Jobs America. We met through our political connections, and we immediately saw eye to eye on his topic of expertise. And we have been talking back and forth for several years, and we have now come all the way around to where we are ready to kind of go out and talk about it in public. So with that, take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you for having me on. And it's really a pleasure and a privilege. I want to say thanks to your audience too. Independent contracting is a topic near and dear to my heart. It's a form of self-employment, and I have been self-employed for 40 years. And I come from 3 generations of self-employed independent musicians. So it's something I've lived literally since I can remember. I think a lot of families who are living with autism know about independent contracting. If they don't, they certainly will soon, one way or another. It is a great solution. For those of you who are new to the idea of independent contracting, it's a means of doing work for pay. And instead of showing up at a factory or an office or a plant or something and working all the time, regular shifts, this independent contracting means doing short-term projects to give some customer somewhere a result that they want. So it's services is what we really are talking about. And by short-term project, it could be from a 10-minute ride from one part of a town to another. It could be a many-month project doing design or marketing or software or office work or cleanup, all to give a desired result to an individual who's willing to pay for it. And people say, well, that sounds kind of chancy the first time they heard about it. What happens when there isn't any work? And the nice thing is the world is full of things that people want done. And so the question is, how can you get a hold of them and get a project and get paid for it? Because getting paid for it and finding work has always been the hardest part of working for yourself. And within the last 10 or 15 years, we've had a flourishing of online sites where you can be matched up with work that you like, work that is in your skill area, work that you can deliver results, work for a customer who's going to pay, and work with an organization that is willing to pay you once you've done the work. So definition, short-term, and multiple opportunities cover gaps. So most people who live by independent contracting really think that their jobs are more secure than working for one boss who, if the work doesn't come in, you get laid off, and then where are you?
No, I'm a huge supporter of this. Just so that our audience knows, in case they're wondering, two good examples of an independent contractor would be like an Uber, Lyft driver.
Yes.
So because they can work when they want, and when they don't have to. Right. But the other thing is like, okay, Peyton, he doesn't do it out there much. He has done it for a few people, but he builds and designs websites. He and my oldest son both do it. So that's an independent contractor. They can get out there and they can design and build websites.
Those are excellent examples, and they happen all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody needs a ride, every business, every nonprofit needs at least one website, and those have to be assembled to meet the particular needs of the individual. So, but once you have a website, yes, you don't need another one the next week. So independent contracting is the way that our growing economy is able to match up people who have needs with people who want to do the work.
Well, one of the reasons why I'm a major supporter of this, and on April 2nd, well, by the time this podcast airs, it will be past April 2nd, but one of the big things we're going to be talking about on that April 2nd virtual coffee that we have is how independent contractors are, how it's so good for autistic adults. Because I had a gentleman tell me that he basically covers his son's expenses because his son has cycled through, the son is an autistic adult, has cycled through multiple jobs, because when his son gets really stressed or the anxiety gets high, he may have a meltdown, he may not be able to communicate, he may get super stressed, get in his head, hyper focus on something, and then the employers get really frustrated. And so either he takes himself out of the situation or the employer takes him out of the situation. And many times when an autistic adult is working in a large, let's use a major box store, and there's hundreds of employees, they can get sensory overload between the lights, between all the noise, between the different smells, between all the stress, trying to stock the shelves, blah, 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 blah. This can be very stressful for them, which ends up creating more anxiety, more stress, and more negativity. But yet, autistic adults have a 75 to 85% unemployment rate, and they need to prepare for their future. So one of the things that's so great about this independent contractors is you could literally take your autistic adult and say they're really good at building websites. They could build websites. On Saturday, they could go to the farmer's market and sell trinkets that they make. And they could also maybe clean neighbors' houses or walk neighbors' dogs. Now they've got 3 sources of income. None of them overlap. They need 2 days off because there's been severe storms and they have anxiety from storms or whatever other reason. Okay, they now don't have to go to work and risk getting any kind of negative feedback at them, any kind of negative behavior patterns at them, but yet they're still earning a living and feeling good about themselves while they're learning life skills, social skills, soft skills, etc. So independent contractors, I think, are extremely important in the autism economy.
I agree with you. That was very eloquent and very articulate, Lynn. That sizes up the situation, and it's definitely not limited to people with autism. I myself, sometimes I need a little extra time in my schedule. I need a little flexibility, and I've been able to live by contracting, like I say, for a generation and a half, longer than I care to admit, really. But that is all those things that sometimes affect an individual and reduce their productivity from a factory worker's standpoint, say. Then you're allowed, with independent contracting, you can focus on your strengths and sell what those are. And if you're able to really stick to it on a project, you mentioned cleaning and maintenance and everything. A lot of times that's just following up and continuing to do a good job at a task. And very often the task doesn't have to be done continuously. And so if you bring it inside your home or however you arrange it, you can inside your own schedule, you can be quite effective and still have what an employer would think of as a disability, and you can make it virtually disappear. Same thing, you could, if a coach is sometimes helpful to a teen or an adult with autism, you can get the help of your coach to kind of get you squared away on this, ask questions, and you can get the help, and you don't have to have the barrier of an employment place. You can reach for the resources that have made you successful enough to get the assignment. So I agree with you completely. If life throws you a kind of a bollocks, a craziness, independent contracting is a way to accommodate yourself and do the work and make the money that you need to support yourself.
Exactly. And here's another thing that I like about the independent contracting. And obviously, I'm taking it from an autism standpoint. It also helps me because I have ADHD and GAD, general anxiety disorder. So there's days that I am really, stressed out, but my anxiety's high. But from an autism perspective too, is if the autistic adult like Peyton doesn't really have a desire right now to drive. Okay. He really doesn't want to drive. So if he goes and gets a 9-to-5 job somewhere, okay, he's got to Uber, or we've got to take him every single time. So there's more money coming out of his pocket, Ubering back and forth and making sure that he gets picked up by an Uber driver, or we have to make sure that we make our schedule to fit him. Whereas if he, like, for an example, Peyton does these beautiful chalk paintings. Okay. He does gorgeous work. He sells quite a few of them. He sells them independently. He sells them at farmers markets and everything. Well, where we live in Florida, there's an amazing store called The Roost, and all you put your items in, all handmade from the community, and 50% of the profit. So if you sell something for 10, you get $5. $5 goes to a charity that helps autistic adults, a foundation. Or I should say special needs adults with disabilities. Okay, not autistic. Autistics are in it. But Peyton has now taken his chalk items and he sells them in this store. Okay, which is phenomenal because he's now got an outlet for his work on a daily basis that he doesn't have to sell. It's in there. It's raising awareness for special needs adults. He's an independent contractor. If he feels like making, like a couple of weeks ago, he made about 10 of them. And we brought them all over there. They list them. They put them up. Once a month, we get a check from them, what he sells. Okay. They have different events throughout the year that we can go and set up a table where we get 100% of everything we sell. And this is such a great thing. And more of these kind of stores are popping up all over America. And, we traveled for 5.5 months around the country on our own dime. And we hit 27 states to meet with autistic adults, autism families, those in the autism world, okay? And one of the things that we found was there were a lot of autistic adults and autism families that lived in small cities, big towns, small towns, in rural areas that did not want to move because the cost of living was way less, the stress level was way less, and their safety was way more. Like the local police chief knows they're autistic. So if they're having a meltdown in public, the police officers come and take them home, not worry about arresting them because they're not sure what's really going on. Okay. And so, a lot of them, but yet there isn't necessarily enough jobs or enough ability for them to get jobs or for them to find an outlet and they get terribly lonely. Okay. Independent contractor is a great way for them to solve these problems because they can go on a Saturday, stand in front of their, in a parking lot, put a table up, have a, store say, yeah, you can use our parking lot, and sell all their handmade items to the other people in the town or the other people coming through the town.
Yes. And I like the example of Peyton and his chalk work, because that's low stress. It's not that, 2 or 3 hours of doing chalk illustrations is just going to get him all totally wired up, strung out, having difficulties. He's doing what he really enjoys. And that's one way that the individual can participate in the economy to their benefit and the economy's benefit. So that's actually a very good illustration, Lynn. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And these are the kind of things we want to really work through Team Awesomism and our upcoming app and the virtual academy in helping autistic adults find that passion, find that love, and be able to do independent, because you know what? I'll give you an example, and this really touched me, and I use this everywhere, and people just almost every time go, okay, we stopped in a very tiny little town in Montana, middle of nowhere, okay? And we would always try to stop at these small gas stations in little towns because we help gave them money. We'd always go in, get something to eat, get some coffee, get some soft drinks, get whatever. Okay. So we tried to help them out,
I can
somebody
think.
coming in. And so anyway, we always wear our autism, Team Awesomism shirts. And the gentleman behind the counter, there was less than 700 people in this town. He starts telling me autism stories from his town. Okay. It's not just in the big cities, folks. It's in
No,
the small rural areas.
everywhere.
Yes. And I thought, he was so supportive of it. And I thought, if Peyton lived here, I bet you the guy was that was his store, right? His gas station store. I bet you I could have said to him, can I put a table on the front sidewalk and let Peyton sell his, chocolate chip, his chalk items that he makes, all the chalk painting. And he would have said, sure. And people drive through that town to go to another town. There was a lake right up the road where they were dragging their boats and all this kind of stuff. People see it. Well, lo and behold, we're in Arkansas, and we're in a small town, and we go in this little store. We have our shirts on. Lady starts talking to us. Come to find out that there was a young man with an autistic adult, and he plays the piano beautifully, right? Just beautiful. And he does real well on the keyboard. The lady that owned that store had him come and sit out front of her store and play the keyboard. And all these people would come and listen. And he put a tip jar out. Okay. This tiny little town. And people were sticking money in the tip jar. She said, and people were walking into my store. She said it was the best marketing I did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a wonderful example. My 3 generations of musicians would say, of course, put a pianist in the lobby of a hotel and you'll sell more at the bar.
Exactly.
And everybody loves a little music, and they get into a good mood and they're interested in the people around them, do a little friendly networking, be a good neighbor, buy something, as a gift. So that is an inspiring suggestion. And I can just picture that little town in Montana too. I got a couple in mind. That's great.
It really was. And, I put together an entire grassroots program that we're going to be sharing when we have our app, and how to make your small town, your small city, more autism friendly. And we're going to be taking this to them because, the thing is, when you have, depending on the numbers you look at, between 8 and 10 million autistics in
Yep.
America.
Same
Okay.
number.
And then
Yep.
yeah, and then you take their siblings, their parents, their grandparents who are all directly affected. You're looking at 30 to 40 million. We better start doing something.
Yes. And I think we're gonna all be better off if we do it ourselves to start with, using the new resources of for instance, matching, somehow matching projects, matching like marketing opportunities, like the retail shops needing it. Retail needs ideas right now. Retail's in trouble. But if they do things like you've just described with Peyton, and his artwork, and the musicians, with their entertainment, retail will become a much more interesting and appealing environment. And they need help. And people with autistic, people who are autistic with skills can practice those in a way that you'd never say, well, yeah, that person can support themselves. But actually, when you make the arrangements, Lynn, they can.
No, exactly. And I agree with you. I mean, listen, if you don't want to hire per se, let's say you own a hardware store and you really don't want to bring an autistic adult in, okay? You don't want to hire them, but you need people to come in on Saturday morning, okay? Bring a dog therapist with some of them from the local from the animal shelter, put them out front because you sell the cages and everything inside. Okay.
Right.
Have an autistic out there selling his items, talking about how he has a therapy dog. Okay. And then have another autistic on the other side who is musical. And all of a sudden people are coming up, and then you have another one who happens to make amazing brownies, and they're selling their brownies out front, and people are coming. It's the old fashioned, when we were growing up, you went downtown in your small area and you
Yes.
knew everybody and people were connected, and you went in there. We used to have a Ben Franklin store in the suburb that I grew up on, the southwest side of Chicago. Okay, we used to have Ben Franklin store. I would go in there and I would see I went to Dutch Christian schools in America. So, there was we all were Dutch that went there. And I would see half the kids I went to school with, their parents in that Ben Franklin, because we all went there. Half the fun of going to the store was seeing your friends and family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Retail should be social, and it's
Yes,
everywhere, right?
go ahead.
A gym, a lot of retail shops are turning into gyms, and perfect opportunity to, I don't know, do whatever, use our imagination.
No, I agree with you. And you know what? Maybe we have to give them these ideas and come up with it. It's just like,
Yes,
we sell these T-shirts on Team Awesomism that say "Fight for a cause, not for applause." And I believe very strongly that independent contractors is a cause that we all need to fight for, because I think we will lower the 75 to 85% unemployment rate. We will lower the rate of a lot of autistics become homeless, get very lonely. The suicide rate is high. Guess what? You go and you do, let's just say you make brownies. Let's use brownies as an example. And you go
absolutely.
to the farmer's market. Guess what? Now you're interacting with somebody. Now you're standing there. You're learning better social skills. And I can about guarantee you dollars to donuts that someone will say to you, "Oh, you're autistic? My nephew is autistic. My nephew just lives 20 minutes up the road. He comes over once a month. You two should go out for coffee." It happens to me and Peyton all the time, everywhere.
Yes. Yes, it's really important. Those personal connections are part of the solution, Lynn. There's no question about it. It's really wonderful. The thing that worries me is that there are new government rules that are making it harder. I'm sure you knew about this, harder for everyone with and without autism to work as independent contractors. So in order to, and some of the people who listen to this program will say, well, what can I do about that? And that we have developed a very simple website that allows an individual who wants to make a short supportive statement saying, here's why I think I want to remain an independent contractor, is because my kids, because I'm taking care of my mom or whatever, why independent contracting is important to them. So I want to invite your listeners to, if they can, to make a statement, record themselves on a cell phone for 30 to 60 seconds. Everybody does it all. You see an interesting rainbow and you take a picture of you and the rainbow and you send it off to the family. It's no more complicated than that. And we are taking these directly to Congress right now, and we will be for many more months. So there's an act in Congress that would help to protect independent contractors for a long time. Do you have that link handy, Lynn?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I share a screen, or maybe I should
Sure.
just
Go ahead.
let's see. Here's see if I can do this. Share screen. Do I have the ability to share the screen?
You know what? I don't know how to do that. Peyton does, and he's not here.
Okay. Well, we'll
put it, if you sent me the link, I will put it in the description, and then people, and then also this podcast will air after our April 2nd, but I'm going to have you on our April 2nd coffee, so you can share it there.
Good. So this is a way for every parent, every relative who is dealing with autism in their family. You don't have to be directly related. If you're just someone supportive, this is a reason to get your face and your phrases and your voice into Congress directly. And we are committed to using at least a part of every video that we get. So nothing is wasted. We are literally being asked on a daily basis, can you send me someone from, and then they have, a video from a state, and they name the state, they know what they need, because I'm dealing with a senator or a congressman who's not quite sure. And your listener might be the one that gets it through the legislature. You never know. So unlike all the cumbersome old stuff, this is new and very impressive. I can't tell you how many adults are caring for their families and need to accommodate themselves with independent contracting. So I think that all of the independent contractors are the biggest supportive block anywhere. I encourage people to do that. So it's a very simple process, and we look forward to it. I think that will help a lot of people who are going to listen to this, Lynn.
I do too, and we are big allies of yours for this, as you know. And you and I have been talking about this for a couple of years. This isn't something that we just did last week. And I have some things that I will talk to you when we're not on the podcast about that I really want to do with the app for independent contractors with you. And I just really think, this is my opinion. Team Awesomism was our motto is turning autism into awesomism. Okay, because
I love that.
thank you. Because I've always told Peyton he has awesomism, not autism, because God made him the awesome one, and the rest of us are the same. And I want so badly, part of what comes with the awesomism is to help them find that niche of what they love to do, feel good about it, that they own, quote unquote, their own little business. They can work when they want, they make some money, they meet people, they connect with people, they do things. It kind of solves all the skill set issues, but at the same time does not burden them with the stress of, I have to get up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I can't sleep tonight because I'm really stressed out. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to be, there are some that are great going to work. God bless them. And I hope they do. Okay. But there's also millions of them who stress out and can't. So let's find the solution for them and an independent contractor. And oh, by the way, we haven't even begun to talk about all the parents that take care of these autistic adults, and the grandparents who are taking care of them, and the siblings who, after the parents are gone, are taking care of them. Peyton is able to stay home alone, okay? But not all autistics can. So after I'm gone, his siblings will get custody of him. That if they're working 9 to 5 at a job and he couldn't stay home alone, they have to become independent contractors because they still have to earn a living, and they need to do that. It goes so far, so beyond. And again, we haven't even talked about elderly parents, dementia, MS, CP, anything.
Right. But we will, Lynn. This is a good solution for people, and we welcome the help, and we wish you all kinds of good luck and as well in this. We have a couple of interesting videos. We'll learn how to share screens for our next discussion so people can see this is really very simple. Just turn it on, record it, and send it.
Perfect. Yeah, I really appreciate your time. And, I will definitely keep putting this out there. And like I said, we're going to be that's one of the things we will be introducing on the April 2nd call is a independent contractor / small business mentorship. Because program, because we really want to support autistics and their families, autistic adults and their families, and help them. This is the whole reason why we're having this app built and designed, is we're going to give people, let's just say for the sake of this discussion, that we have someone who is really musically inclined, okay, but they don't want to put their music out there because you put it on YouTube, you put it on Rumble, you put it on all these other places. And some people have zero life, zero decency, zero morals, and they just spend their day because they're lonely and sitting in their parents' basement, and they get on there and they write nasty comments to the person putting the music out, okay? The app will not have that. So if you have an autistic adult who is beautiful on the guitar, maybe he doesn't have the greatest voice, but he writes his own music because it's his way of expressing himself. We will put it both on our music channel on there, as well as our independent contractor area forum. And they will be able to put their music out there as a video, let people hear them. You never know who steps up and says, you know what, his guitar work is so amazing. I have a country music band. I'd love to have that guy in my band because he is so amazing and he can write lyrics for me because I don't like to write lyrics. This is what this app is all about. It's the connectivity, the networking, and teaching. And truthfully, 90% of what we'll be promoting is small business and independent contractors.
Lynn, that dovetails exactly with my experience with independent contractors of all types, which is in the months and years ahead, I think we're all going to have to look out for each other, just as you're describing it. The days of us all driving around in our cars by ourselves is past. The days of the churches being the usual way to connect with a lot of your community. Now it's through different mechanisms, and that the people who are autism activists, who are independent contractor activists, if they all look out for each other like you and I are doing, we're going to be able to find solutions. So I think you're on the right track. I feel that we're on the right track, and I'm very pleased to work with you and continue to look for more interesting discoveries.
Thank you. I am too. I mean, it's kind of funny how we met because we met through, a totally, one of our high-end political things, and that very few people get invited to, and we got, because of what we do, we got to meet through that, and we're taking it. What I find funny about it is it's such a private network of powerful people, and you and I stepped out of it, and we're taking what we are passionate about and bringing it to the public. But that's what's so great about that group too, is it is about networking and making those connectivity, and it isn't that the group isn't about being that way. It's about so that you can actually really open up what you do, what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. And then the people sitting in the room go, well, I've got the right people in my network to connect you with. And that's exactly how this came about for you and me.
And that's how we're getting the interest of coming in from people who are in Congress. Many of the people that we're dealing with now, I haven't talked to in 4 or 5 years, COVID, everything. And they're emailing me and they're calling me up cold and saying, Mike, been a long time. Who do you know in Pennsylvania? Well, as a matter of fact, here's who we do know. So I think you're right on the beam, and that makes the stuff you say makes me laugh because it seems so familiar. So
yeah, great. And it's so great because I always, when people always tease me that know me, because I don't put it out there in LinkedIn and stuff, but what I used to do, and the crowd that I ran with, and my political activism. I mean, people know I was a homeschool activist, but they don't know who I was working with. Okay. And so, because I just don't put it out there. And it's so funny because people will say to me, it's kind of funny seeing you make the best of that network. And I say, yeah, or people say, well, have you ever thought about going back to DC? And I always say the same thing. I've done my years in purgatory. I've left, and now I'm out there actually getting my heavenly side fed, because I mean, and I know it is not a fun place to be up there. I mean, it is dog eat dog.
It's a little intense, Lynn. It's a little intense. And you know what? This is more intense and more fun too.
I agree.
I literally would not do anything different. I like working out in the field. I'm very comfortable here, and the people you meet, like you, like all the people we know in common, are wonderful. So there's pleasure just in being among them, let alone added on the frosting of helping them with their lives and having them help us with ours.
No, I agree. And it's always funny because my husband, this is second marriage. And so then when we got married, he started, he would join in these virtual meetings, after I left DC, and I was still doing it all virtual. And he'd be turning on the news and he'd be like, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and you know them. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Nice guys, nice
yeah.
gals.
Yeah, it's funny because when you see them, like I used to work for a congressman, I saw him in a complete different light than, when he was sitting on TV being so serious and, but, behind the scenes, he was funny and we'd laugh and we joke and he was hilarious. But I mean, it's very different. But while we're talking, after we get done recording this, I've got 3 people I'm going to tell you that I'll go to for you because I just thought of this now that I can get directly to that are in DC, who one's a congressman, one's a senator. And then the other one, I have an idea for something here because, political Florida, part of the reason why we came back to Florida, no, the big reason why we came back to Florida was this. This is my base. This is my network. This is my tribe here. These are my friends. This is where I had, this is where my political strength was. And I have friends that I'm super close to, have been friends with for over 30 years.
Wonderful.
And they're like family to me. And we came back here and it's really kind of nice because since we did, Team Awesomism has just flourished because they're like, what can I do to help? Who can I call? I saw one of the women at the local meeting of the one that you and I met at, okay, because we have one here locally. And she said, I know you. You have 3 kids. I said, actually, I have 4 now. The last time you saw me was, 25 years ago, 26 years ago, and I hadn't had my 4th yet. Oh my gosh, and so we started talking and she stepped up and said she wants to hold the coffee as a fundraiser for me for Team Awesomism because she's known me.
Bless her, bless her. And I know exactly your feeling of familiarity. I was watching a hearing on Twitter, now X. I was watching a hearing and some representative or senator was making a speech and I looked behind and there was a young woman. And I said, that's I'd like that's the aide from the another person in the committee. And I just there I was on it's a national broadcast of these hearings. So it's a real surprise that you've been in their office, you've talked to them in person, and here they are out in the tube. So
I'll tell you my favorite story. Hopefully my ex-boss won't hear this because he'll get mad at me. But one time they were showing the hearings on C-SPAN.
Yeah.
And half the people that they bring into those committee hearings and stuff, they testify about yes, an apple is red as an apple, you know what I mean? So he happened to be reading something, and a friend of mine was in the hearing because it was a tech hearing about technology before we really got to where we are now. And she was a lobbyist for a major tech company. And she sends me a text and says, so-and-so, my boss, is reading the newspaper instead of paying attention. And she did a hilarious smile face, right? So I sent him a text and I said, put down the newspaper and pay attention.
And he did.
Look, I saw his face go down. And then I saw him look around the room to see who was in there that I knew.
That's hysterical. That is wonderful. See, the message is everyone has more power than they think to affect their world. And
no, they do. You're right.
Anyway. So thank you. That's great.
Yeah, it always makes me laugh because afterwards he's like, tell me who told you. And I said, I'm not telling you. And it was just funny. I mean, it was just one of those hearings where it was just, like 5 people testified the exact same thing. You know what I mean? It's like, we have to do this hearing, so we're going to do it. But because he was actually an amazing congressman. I mean, he seriously was one of the best. But, it's just fun because, and I always try to tell people this, if you get to know the people who work for the senators, the congressmen, the state reps, the state senators, the governor, all them, 90% of the time they have more influence than you realize because they're the ones who are sitting with them every day. They're the ones who have their ear and can say something to them. And so, if you show them a video or you go to, let's just say, a US senator, because they're, other than the president, they've got an enormous amount of power. And you go and you say to them, look, I want to show you 4 videos. Just give me 5 minutes and watch these 4 videos about how autistic adults are being left behind unless we help them with being independent contractors, because A, B, and C, and they watch, and that sender looks at it because that person who works for him sees him. They see him in their office. They talk to him. He chose to have them work for him. So there's a relationship there. They
Right.
sit, they look at it for 4 or 5 minutes. That is more powerful than 25 people dialing for dollars to their office saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this.
Yes, that person's face, when the senator or the representative thinks here's the words independent contracting, he remembers the autism activist in his office talking about the problem. So you've taken over that space in an important person's consciousness, and that's the goal of activists everywhere. So
Exactly. And that's why I always tell people, please, for whatever whatever your cause is, you may have to fight a lot of battles to get there, but if you get the right person to hear you, the world can change. And
yes,
that's why every day I fight for autistic adults, because I see so much about autistic kids, but I see next to nothing for the autistic adults. And after going on the 5.5-month road trip, I realized how many of them, I mean, we were met with stories of suicide, of attempted suicide, of, severe loneliness. And I thought, I'm not giving in. I'm going at it from every angle, not just 1 or 2.
if you quit, you get nothing.
Right. That's exactly right. So, well, thank you so much Mike, for joining me, and we will definitely be doing this again. And I look forward to having you give your little couple-minute speech and show a video or 2 on the April 2nd. By the time that people hear this podcast, will be past, but we'll put your stuff on our website too if you'd like. I'd be happy to have it on our website.
Use your best judgment. I'll be happy with what you decide.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn, for having me on. I
Well,
appreciate
thank you.
it. Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.